Welcome to Genealogy, where we combine one part solid genealogy research and a whole lot of arts and crafts. Today, we're going to be working on a stream of consciousness project, which means that over this series of several videos, you'll see the project come from mind's eye to final reality. My name is Tiffany, and Crystal is behind the scenes. Say hi.
Hi.
And we're going to bring you our first stream of consciousness inspired by family history project. Today's project is going to, what I know of it, is going to be a quilted wall hanging. And it's going to be inspired by what do we all think of when we think of imagery for genealogy? Trees. That's right. And when we're not thinking about trees, maybe we're thinking about leaves. And so the project that we're working on is inspired by this design by local artist Ron Hodgdon, and it's titled Spring Greens. And so if you're not feeling so color inclined, then you could pick your color story for your project from another piece of art or even a picture that's already on your camera roll. So you can see what my color story is going to be. I've already cut some pieces of fabric. And so fabrics that I'm auditioning for my design are all in these yellowy greens, a little bit of blue greens, and some goldenrod. Okay, is this coming across?
Yeah.
Okay, and so the original design was rectangles. I've been inspired today by the trusty parallelogram. And so in my head, I'm thinking I'm going to combine all of these parallelograms together and make one large dangling leaf. But I have a lot of repeat fabrics here, and I need a few more fabrics to make my leaf sort of read all one texture and not about any one fabric. So I have a large stash. I've been sewing for a long time. So I've also identified these fabrics as possibilities for my parallelograms. Currently, I do a lot of die cutting for my shapes. And so on this die cutter, this parallelogram is measuring 1 3/8 inches by 3/4 of an inch. Now, I don't want you to copy exactly what I'm making. I'm hoping you'll be inspired, and if this project will kick off ideas that you have at home about how to make a great leaf-inspired project. You don't even have to do it in quilting. You could be inspired by the original project and do a digital piece of artwork. Ultimately, I envision it being more like a signature block quilt where I will have embroidered or written family names from our family tree in the leaves. But I might change that up just a bit. So I'm going to lay the fabric on the die, and I have found for this project I need to lay the fabric right side up and right side down. So then when I'm sewing the parallelograms together, I get more opportunities, because I don't know if you know this, but you can sew your fabric wrong side up and then you double the fabric choices that you have. So on this project, I'll use the die cutter, and you can see how easy that is. Now, you certainly can rotary cut these pieces. You can make yourself a plastic template. You could even cut them out with scissors. But I'm just going to run this through the die cutter. I'm backwards of how I usually do this. So, okay, so I just run it through the die cutter, and then my next parallelograms are all ready to go. Now, a lot of people get concerned because there's a little bit of waste when you take this fabric off. So now I have my parallelogram. But I want you to know I don't waste anything. No piece of fabric is ever too small for me to consider using it in a project. And if it ever does get too small, then it just becomes stuffing for a project. So the other thing I wanted to show you today is that since I don't feel like I have enough scrap greens, is I'm a big proponent of using what you have. So I have some white fabric. I ordered it and I thought it was going to be a nice piece of fabric, but it actually has a flaw in the fabric. Every so often there's these red threads. And I've been just trying to remember it when I need other fabric. And I have laid paper towel down, about 5 or 6, to protect the surface of my table. And I have not used fabric markers for quite a long time. So I'm gonna give it a shot, and I have some green fabric markers, a few different shades of green. And I haven't done this, like I said, maybe since the 90s, maybe worked with fabric markers. But I got this idea and I thought, well, this would be the perfect opportunity. I'm gonna take out that goldenrod color too that we saw in the inspiration design. And we're gonna play a little bit. These markers have a thick edge and a narrow edge. So I could go with either one. I am not too concerned with if it bleeds at all. I'm looking for texture. And so, let's see, I'm just making some stripes on my fabric, and I'm getting an idea for what colors I've got and if that works in my colorway. I think that color does work in my colorway, my color story. So I think I'm just gonna now go across the other way. And so I will fill that space up with color, but it will still read with some texture. So what I did is I pressed down harder the first time with the thicker end and lighter the second time, so I could get some texture in this design. Now, I want to be thinking about the size of my parallelograms, and do I want something that's going to fit in there? It doesn't even have to be the same design. And then I'm going to color with all of these markers and experiment with the different colors. And I can go right up next to each other, because who's to say that I just need one color in my fabric? And I'm gonna just play like this for probably the length of this fabric, which is about 42 inches, and get some colors that I like. And this is gonna be a way for me to add some more fabric into my design. I'm flinging things left and right. And you can be as neat or as messy as you want to be with this idea. I tend to be a little bit more freeform and messy. Now, according to the instructions, and I encourage you to use whatever you have on hand, if you have any fabric markers, there's going to be a certain amount of time that they want the fabric to air dry and set. So for these markers, I'm looking at about 6 hours of dry time, and then I'm going to use my iron on the backside to heat set it. And so what have we done today? We've talked about the project and the inspiration piece. We've shown you some of the pieces that I already have cut, and then I'm not so happy that I don't have a wider selection of greens. So I'm gonna make my own greens and see how that works. And out right away, I can see now that I don't like that first green that I used that I thought maybe would be a winner. So I'm going to bring in some blending and see if I can blend that green and make it usable. Because again, I don't want to waste my fabric. I don't want to do that. And so next time you see me, I will have cut out some parallelograms from my own hand-drawn fabrics. I hope you have a great day, and wherever your Geneartology journey takes you, Share with us. We'd love to see what you're making inspired by your family history.